Good day, everyone. It is a cool morning here in Ikorodu area of Lagos State. I'm your lecturer, Amusa Jami Oluwadamilare. In our IDU 256 class today, we shall be examining some learning theories, psychological learning theories, and their implication to science teaching and curriculum development. I want you to get your pen beside you and go with me as I take you through the learning theories of David Ausubel and Jerome Bruner. Let's go to the main class and discuss in detail.
Like I said, the psychological theories of learning and the applications for science teaching will be our primary focus of discussion today. And of course, there are several psychological theorists, cognitive theorists that have spoken, and we'll be looking at four of them with special focus on two of them. But there are always some generic questions that students should think about whenever they are talking about learning theory. You'll be compelled to ask, how do students' thinking expand to include new ones? You know, you learn one thing later in the years, it becomes so many. How do all these things, grow up to this extent? How are concepts formed in human mind? We have different type of concepts in science. How are they formed? How do they come about? Can the concept in science be handed over entirely as ready-made to students? Or must learner build them up by themselves, step by steps? And what are the science concepts we hope to encourage our students to develop? These are some of the general questions that are so relevant whenever we are discussing about learning theory. The primary objective of this class is to talk about David Ausubel's theory of learning. So at the end of the class, you should be able to describe David Ausubel's theory of learning. You should also be able to discuss the implications of Ausubel's theory of learning to science teaching and curriculum development in general. We're also going to look at Bruner's theory of learning. And at the end of the class, I expect that you should be able to describe Bruner's theory of learning. Also, you should be able to discuss the implications of Jerome Bruner's theory to science teachings and curriculum development. And you can see them all. This is, let me pick my, now, this is David Ausubel. We have Jerome Bruner, Robert Gahn, and Jim Piaget. These are some of the prominent learning psychologists. In fact, they call them cognitive psychologists. They are primarily white men, the Igbo people now. My distinguished professor, Peter Okebukola, who want us to cite African scholars, African psychologists, but unfortunately, we have not been able to document their findings. So let's still make use of this white people's psychological theory of learning. Of course, I've been able to turn them black. They are no longer white. They are now black men, even though they are from the Western world. So we are going to focus mainly on David Ausubel and Jerome Bruner. That of Robert Gahn and Jim Piaget will be discussed in some other classes. Now, Ausubel. Ausubel distinguishes between rote and meaningful learning of science. And when you say rote learning, when students begin to memorize content of science. So Ausubel is in complete disagreement with rote learning. And he said this does not translate to meaningful learning of science. He lays so much emphasis on previous knowledge, on prior knowledge, and how it affects the learning process of science. Ausubel also emphasize on the fact that meaningful learning occurs when there is appropriate linkage between prior knowledge and new learning task. So rote learning occurs when there is no appropriate link. So he is saying that if there is no, connectivity, if there is no linkage between prior knowledge and the new learning task, then rote learning is bound to occur. He also said that those parts of the learner's cognitive structure which can provide for the interaction necessary for meaningful learning are called subsumers. I want you to pay attention to this concept, subsumer. So it is in the learner's cognitive structure. Now, he also said that new learning must be linked to the existing knowledge to create meaning. Before there can be any meaningful learning in the class, there must be a way to link up the new concept, the new knowledge must be linked with what? With the existing knowledge before we can make any meaningful learning. Now, you're talking about also, the implication of Ausubel theory of learning in science classroom. We have it that teaching must not begin until the teacher is sure of previous knowledge, and if not, it should provide one. One should be provided. So the interpretation of this is this: before you go into any topic, for example, if you want to teach motion in the class, concept of motion in physics, you should take the students from what they have known. Of course, they know about movement. As a teacher, you must be creative enough to come up with some questions that will be able to link what they have learned before to the new thing they want to learn. So if they don't have any previous knowledge, as a teacher, you must be able to create one for them. And that is why in some of the university courses, you have what is called prerequisite courses that you must take before you take a particular one. So this is to emphasize the significance of previous knowledge. And in fact, when you prepare lesson note as a teacher, it is always good to put down the expected previous knowledge of students. And the common saying in educational palace, there is no child that is clean slate, tabula rasa, that does not have anything written on it. No, they must possess a particular knowledge. So that is the essence of prior knowledge, is very key in the learning of science. Teaching must begin with new knowledge in a sequential manner. You must learn to build from simple to complex. You must not start, new concepts from the most difficult aspect of it. You must take them gradually in sequential order for the student to have better grasp of what you are teaching. Another implication is that teacher must not present new materials during teaching unless the learner is ready. So you should devise a way of preparing your students for the new class, for the new learning, the new concept, the new topic. They must have certain things they must learn. So if you notice that they are not ready, you should not present, any new material to them. Ausubel also supported the use of expository method in teaching of science. Content in the science curriculum must be arranged in sequential order. You see, so it should go beyond classroom teaching. In curriculum development, the content must still go from where? From simple to complex. So these are some of the major things that as a teacher you must know. And let's say you now have a curriculum that is not arranged, in accordance to Ausubel theory of learning. You as a trained teacher, as a trained science teacher, you should rearrange and you should bring up some, innovation in the curriculum. So you can still do that if you have received the right training like you are doing so now. Let's now talk about Jerome Bruner. Brunner introduced the concept of learning by discovery. Discovery is a process of obtaining knowledge by use of one's mental processes. So you can get the concept of Brunner there. Learning must be student-centered. It must be learner-centered. It must not be teacher-centered. As against what is the practice and lecture method of teaching, learning, according to Brunner, should be student focused. Students should be at the center of the teaching. Hence, the mental processes of the learners will be fully engaged when they are using discovery method. Brunner further noted that learning by discovery begins when science teacher purposefully creates problem. A problem must be created, a context must be created, and in that context, the teacher must create a problem. And then in discovery, if you don't have problem to solve, there's nothing you want to discover. As a discoverer, you must have a goal, and that goal is the problem you intend to solve. So as science students, they must be prepared that you can solve problem through discovery. So Brunner further noted that students are to solve problem through discovery. Yes. So just an emphasis on what has been said. He now said that such inconsistencies, in trying to create problem, the teacher must create inconsistencies which will lead to intellectual discomfort. Take it again. Inconsistencies that must lead to intellectual discomfort. And that discomfort will also stimulate individual discoveries through cognitive restructuring. And in other words, internal reorganization of knowledge. The implication of this is that when a learner observes there's a problem or there is a particular inconsistencies in a given situation, there's a disturbance that this thing shouldn't be this way. I don't go be like this now. Let us try and put it in order. So it is that thing, and in science, you approach science because you want to solve a problem. You are solving a problem because you have observed certain inconsistencies, and these things will begin to reorganize and restructure your cognitive, context. Your cognitive context will be rearranged, will be reorganized, and that's what is called internal organization of knowledge. Brunner, at the end of the day, identifies two types of discoveries. He called one assimilation and called one the other accommodation. Assimilation is when the learner is able to take the problem at hand, and there is a context, there is a knowledge with which he can solve that problem, with which he can assimilate the new problem at hand. But in the case of accommodation, when the learner notices that it is very difficult for him to place the challenge appropriately, that learner will learn to give accommodation. Now let's go to proper implication of Brunner's theory of learning. There should be great emphasis on how students will generate new concepts, ideas, relationship, and principles. So the meaning of this is that learners should not just be spoon-fed. You must not just be giving them notes, just pour down the content to them without actively engaging them. The era of passiveness, where learner will just be seated in the class and become so passive during teaching learning process, that era should stop. Students should learn to create new concepts. They should be able to come up with ideas. Why not? Can't we? If learners can challenge existing theories, let them challenge. Let them come up with some relationships, in science. So science teachers should deliberately create or present problem for the students. Whenever you intend to teach or you are planning to go to a class, go with a problem. Of course, within the within the curriculum, within the scheme that you are working with, but create the problem. And in creating the problem, it depends on the creativity, of the teacher. As science teacher, by the time you read wide, you combine materials, you will be able to generate problem for your student. So you don't teach in science class without creating a problem. The problem must be created for students to tackle. Teachers should encourage discovery learning as this aids problem solving and creativity. Now, we are talking about fourth industrial revolution. We are in the era of artificial intelligence, and these are some of the creativity, innovation that comes with science. So we can no longer fold our arms and be satisfied with the old theory of Newton, with the old theory of those physicists, without coming up with current problems and issues as affect our present time. So we should encourage discovery learning. Because it aids problem solving and creativity. And that's what we should focus in the classroom. Any physics teacher should ensure that they encourage science students to make intuitive guesses more systematically. In the course of solving a problem, you are bound to make some guesses. You are bound to make some, hypotheses, raise some hypotheses. These hypotheses, they should be systematic. It should not be that of a layman. It should be scientific in nature. And before you move on in scientific processes, there is what we call hypothesis. And hypothesis has been described as systematic guess of scientists. So science teachers or physics teachers should encourage this, that students should learn how to do that. And lastly, teachers should emphasize on radical reorganization of science curriculum. There are various subject society, subject association, like Science Teachers Association of Nigeria. We should continue to advocate for radical reorganization of science curriculum. We can no longer continue to restrict our students to simple pendulum experiments. We can no longer continue to restrict our students to mere triangular prism experiments, when students in the other climes have gone far in developing some little microchips. So there should be a radical reorganization of science curriculum to attempt to solve the current problem that we have in our society. So now let's have a quick recap of what we have said so far. From David Ausubel, his emphasis mostly is on the value of prior knowledge. He also said that meaningful learning takes place when there's appropriate link between prior knowledge and new learning task. He also emphasized the importance of sequence of instruction. In the case of Jerome Bruner, he laid so much emphasis on learning through discovery, that any learning should be done through discovery. And he said discovery aids problem solving and creativity development, innovation. And lastly, he identified two forms of discovery. They are assimilation and accommodation. Is that all? Definitely that's not all. We also have some theories from Robert Gunn and Jean Piaget. Maybe in our subsequent classes, we'll discuss about their own perception too about learning theory as it has been documented. Like I said, we have decided to make use of available theories now. And I want all of you to keep in mind that our distinguished professor Peter Okebukola said that we should endeavor to cite the work, of African psychologists, so that their work can also be found in so many places. But today we have made use of Western psychologists, as we have mentioned. And we meet again in the next class. Goodbye for me. Goodbye.